Okay, so what I want you to do is just take a minute and wrap your head around that. You should have taken your pencil, rotated it 210 degrees. When it rotated 210 degrees, it stopped on the terminal side of the angle. The terminal side of the angle, you should be able to physically see, goes through the point, negative root 3 over 2, negative 1/2.
But doesn't it just rest on that? Because that's the point that we stopped it at? Like, what do you mean goes through?
Well, on the actual circle, it is a point on the circle. But the way your pencil's lying, I mean, it's going through it, right? I mean, short of having a...
It's like a line.
Yeah, that's all I meant by it. Okay, so what we're going to now do is clarify about that point P. So, as we look on the next page, we're going to clarify that that pencil that you have at one end of the origin going through point P has an ordered pair. But first we're just going to clarify that that hypotenuse is just simply the distance from the origin. But my follow-up question, which is what you're going to write about here for a minute, is the distance from the origin is how much? 1, right? The distance from the origin is just 1. However, the ordered pair that we just stated was negative root 3 over 2, negative 1/2. So I want you to take, 2 minutes. And I want you to explain, okay, we know because we said it would be true, that the hypotenuse, the radius of the circle, is 1. Why do we know then, based on everything we've talked about so far, that the P, my point, negative root 3 over 2, 1/2, why negative 1/2? Why do we know that's the ordered pair? The actual x, y. So take a minute or two. How did we find the x, y ordered pair? Go.
How do we find the X, Y ordered pair?
Let's determine using
This is point P.
triangle.
Right, so we're using 2 times point P. Oh my god! So, what did you do? Special right triangles.
It's for
Okay, so some of you are already discussing. If you haven't already, talk about what you have written. How are you getting the x value? How are you getting the y value? We're going to take some volunteers here in a minute. I'm going to ask you in a minute to read what you wrote about how to find the x value, the y value. Sonny is deciding to actually write something down. I'm going to ask you to read what you wrote. For any given point P, the point that you just listed was negative root 3 over 2, negative 1/2. How did we get that x value? How did we get the y value?
Miss Man, you need to read it, fix this word. He's making me fix this word right now. I didn't notice it, but he pointed so these angles. Or just not making it.
So the y value is the sign on the x value.
That's disgusting.
I mean, live with your sister.
The other one's better.
No, it's not.
From yesterday. From Friday.
Yeah.
That's just.
Okay, you ready? I'm going to call on people. Let's go, Nico. What'd you write?
The x value is the cosine of the reference angle.
I don't disagree. That's what we're leading to. But how did you get that as an x coordinate? I agree with you. That is what we're going to write eventually. But But we don't want to miss this part. Brendan, what'd you write?
That's a pretty much the same thing.
Okay, so we want to, before we don't want to jump to the trig functions. We agree it is going to be the trig functions, right? We talked about that on Friday. But I'm going to stick to that. If not, I'll give you a second to write it again. I want an explanation not depending on the trig functions. Joanna, sorry.
Because it's proportional to the parent triangle.
Yes. These x distances and the y distances. Look at your actual 210. That came from an x distance over and a y distance down. You need to clarify that your ordered pair is old school x over y up and down. It's a horizontal distance from the origin and a vertical distance from the origin. Those horizontal and vertical distance, like Juliana just said, they come from those sides of the proportional triangle. If you write that down, it'll sink in. Brendan, I'm going to ask you to repeat that in a second. Have you written that down? Okay, then what's it say?
It says the x and y values are proportional due to the parent triangle.
Yeah, I like that. I would add the phrase horizontal and vertical distance from the origin.
So what's like the full sentence?
The ordered pair is a horizontal and vertical distance from the origin based on the proportional triangles.
May I go get some hydrogen monoxide? Or dihydrogen monoxide, sorry.
I was gonna say,
That's not. It's called.
So,
I forgot the di in front of the
yeah,
hydrogen.
slightly important. Okay, so you ready? Ready? Based on the mother triangles. Proportional triangles, based on proportional triangles from the originals.
A little.
Okay, so now I want to lead into what Nico and Brendan just said because they are right. We do know that the x and the y are not only a horizontal and vertical distance up, but, Nico, you want to go back to that again? X is really the, or Brody, cosine of theta, and y is the sine of theta. We talked about that on Friday. Okay. Now, the next set of explanations is super important for where we're headed. It asks you to explain how angles in quadrants 2, 3, and 4 are determined using patterns. Now, I have purposely left that open-ended, so there are lots of ways you can take this. But I want you to write down how our angles, say, for example, 210, 150, 30, and 330. How are angles in quadrants 2, 3, and 4 how are they determined using patterns? So just take 1 minute, write totally to yourself, do not talk. Let a new person go first. Someone new starts this time. Share what you wrote. Go.
Oh, I
30, 60, 90, and 45.
I just did
So just screw it out. So.
Like, here. 45, 45, 45.
Okay, here we go. Just tell me what you either wrote down or agreed to in your groups. Let's go with Lydia.
If you like draw the bow ties, then the symbol of where they are have different signs.
I like it. What'd you write down, Ava? Or what you talked about as a group, either way.
We did talk about how the quadrants, like in quadrant 2, will be all negative, and then
Three, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then whatever,
good.
But then that's the next question.
Okay, good. That's okay. Allison, what'd you guys say?
But in quadrant 2, it would be a negative x value. And
Listen to this, because this is where we're headed. Say it again.
In quadrant 2, it would be a negative x value and a positive y value. And 3, they would both be negative. And then in 4, it would be a positive x value and a negative y value.
Okay, so with that, listen to where we're headed. We're going to keep that out, but I want you to now look at the last page from our previous packet. Look at the last page from the previous packet. The one we were just looking at a minute ago. And here's the exact same conversation based off of what you just told me. You likely would have already filled this out because it was partly what was due last week. But I want you to now, based on everything, see if you can agree to only 1 through 6. I don't want you to get ahead of me. Only 1 through 6. Go.
So sine is this. So it'd be 2 and 2.
Sine
I know
is
this
the
wrong.
one.
Okay.
I have
Yeah,
one and
so it should be 1 and 2.
because sine is
And then it's negative 3 and 4. Cosine is positive 1 and 4. Negative 3. Tangent is positive only 1. It's negative 2 through 4.
Yeah, it's the only
Oh, yeah, you're right.
What did you guys put down for 7?
No. Okay, here we go. Ella, in what quadrant did you guys decide sine was positive? Okay, and therefore negative? Okay, here we go. So listen, can you give an explanation? Hey, group, you ready? Ella, can you give an explanation for why sine is positive in 1 and 2 and negative in 3 and 4? It's okay if you can't. I'll get someone to help you. Okay, if you can help her, raise your hand. Okay, go, Lydia.
So because this y value of all the numbers in the first quadrant are positive.
And in the,
And in the second.
yeah. So sine is your y value. Sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. So therefore, because y is positive, sine is positive, and for the reverse understanding, y is negative in 3 and 4, so sine is negative in 3 and 4. Got it? I'll take a volunteer for this one. In what quadrants is cosine positive or negative? Brody, go.
It's positive in 1 and 4 and negative in 2 and 3.
Okay. So, Brody, give your explanation, because you're right.
The x value in
Cosine is your x value.
cosine is negative in 2 and 3, but positive in 1 and 4. So it's on the right side of the unit triangle.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so unit circle, not unit triangle, but
That's so fun.
for quadrants 1 and 4, x is what? Hey, quadrants 1 and 4 are x's, and quadrants 2 and 3 x's, and that goes along aligns with cosine. What about tangent? Ooh, Beverly, go.
1 and 3 is positive and 2 and 4 is negative.
So totally agree. Can you tell me why?
Because, well, the 1, that's just like all in the positive, but because of the 3, you're dividing a negative by a negative, and then
Because what is tangent?
it's y over x.
Yeah, tangent is y over x. So if you heard what she said, this is a positive over a positive, but 3 is a
Negative over a negative.
yeah. And in 2, you've got a positive over a negative. In 4, you've got a negative over a positive. Does that make sense? Are we clear on that? Okay, so now there's a quick way to remember this. If you draw a little tiny quadrant, XY plane, the easiest way to remember this is a cheesy phrase that's often used. All students take calculus. And that all students take calculus tells you what's positive where. All of the trig functions are positive in quadrant 1. The only one positive in quadrant 2 is in quadrant 3, in quadrant 4. See how that works? All students take calculus. Okay? Yep. So, that's the phrase, right? You know the phrase? Okay. So, all of the trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, if you look, they're all positive in quadrant 1. Right? Only sine is positive in 2. Only tangent is positive in 3, and only cosine is positive in 4. Okay? Now, the next bottom part is super important with where we're headed tomorrow. So I want you to look at 7, 8, and 9, but listen to how I want you to think this through. Think in terms of pairs. So when it says, for which angles are the sine values the same for 31, 52, 10, and 330? Think in terms of pairs. Which pair has a sine value that is positive? Which pair, there are several, which pair has sine values that are negative? I want pairs. And then answer why. So if you've already done it, just exchange your answers. Otherwise, be listening and making sure that you are filling it out. Go.
So 30 and 150 both have positive sine values.
So I said this sine values is I said 30 and 150. The y values are 1/2. They have the same value. 2, 10, and 330 are negative. Why? And then what caused the difference? Yeah. 150. Wait, I'm sorry, I looked wrong. Like 210. Sorry.
The ones that are different? Why are they different? You can look at 210 and you can look at 30.
210. 330. We're talking about that's the sine value.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, what?
So it would
Yes,
just be
I
like
cut a
210.
page last week. I did have a cool technique of how much we have, but it's pretty good throughout spring. That's just popped up last week.
It's 30,
Like, this is been going around on like.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. For what angles are the sine values the same? Give me a pair. Amin.
30 and 150.
Okay, give me another pair, please. Sadia. Okay, what do you notice about the relationship between these two? 30 and 150.
Reflected across the y-axis.
Ah, very nice. No one said that today. Reflective over the y-axis. That's true of these two. Do you notice anything else regarding 30 and 150? Yeah.
They're both positive relative to the x-axis.
They're okay. I like that. Above. Yep, love it. There you go. Agreed. And these are in the third and fourth. Good. What else? There's something else. They add to 180, and that's going to matter a lot tomorrow. Give me a pair that are different. Jackson.
30 and 210.
30 and 210. Give me another pair, Max.
150 and 330.
150 and 330. Give me another pair, Joy. 30 and 210 they gave me, but also 30 and 330. Now think about this for a minute, because this is going to help us tomorrow too. If you gave me the negative coterminal angle, what's the negative coterminal angle for 330? Negative 30. Notice that. That's going to matter. What's the last one we haven't hit? 150 and 210. Okay, so what do you notice about 30 and 210, for instance? Yes, that's less significant. Do the subtraction. They subtract to be
180.
180. So that's good. Again, these are going to really matter, this connection to 180. Notice these are opposites. These right here also subtract to be 180. Tell me about what causes the difference. In the 210 minus 30 is 180.
Wait, what's the
330 and 150 subtract to be 180. What causes the difference in all of these? Say again.
One's negative.
One's negative, and what determines what's positive and what's negative?
Are both negative?
quadrant that I'm in?
Oh, it's
The
sine.
quadrant you're in, right? Ideally, when you answered letter C in number 7, 8, and 9, you talked about it depends on what quadrant you're in. If you're totally with me, raise your hand. Okay, here we go. We're going to go a little faster this time. What cosine values? Give me a pair of cosine that are the same, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
so
for
if
sure.
we're talking about like the quadrants that it's in, why wouldn't it be like 30 and 210 because they both would be like I literally don't know.
No, when it's saying when I ask what causes the difference, I just mean what causes the difference between whether or not they're the same or whether or not they're opposites. It just depends what quadrant you're in. Some of that it'll help when you watch the video. Hey, zip it please. Give me a pair of angles that are the same for cosine, Nick.
150 and 210.
150 and 210. Give me another pair, please. Alex.
30 and 330.
30 and 330. Now, what did we just say, for instance? Watch this. What's coterminal with 330? Negative 30. Listen to this. What angle is coterminal to 210 that's negative? Negative 150. That's a hint for where we're headed. This 30 and negative 30, they're the same. This 150 and negative 150, they're the same. Give me a pair that are different. Give me a pair different, Julia. 150 and 210 are the same.
Oh, wait.
150 and 30, yeah. Give me another pair. Notice, what do you notice about those now that we're starting to point this out? They add to 180. Good. Give me another pair that's different, please. Yep, Joe. 210 and 330. That's a little bit harder to see, but you get the idea where we're headed, right? There's two more pairs. One could be 150 and what else? 330 330. What do you notice about these?
Um,
These are opposites. What do you notice about those?
they don't get to
They subtract to give you what? Yeah, so do you hear 180 popping up over and over and over again? You should.
That's a straight line.
The last, yes, it's a straight line. Thank you, Jackson. Last one is 210 and what do we miss? 30? Okay, how far apart are those? Hey, yo, how far apart are those? Say it, Ella. 180. Okay, last one. Now this you should really notice. Tangent values that are the same. We should be really noticing this a lot now. Catherine. Okay, what did we just say? What are we noticing over and over again? How far apart are these? 180. What else is the same? 150 and 330. There it is. Where are they different? David, you got a set that are different for tangent? 30 and 150. Good. 30 and 150. What's the relationship there? As to 180. Also, what's left? 210 and 330. That was a little bit harder to see. Yeah.
Can you go for the pattern? Like I'm confused. Like when it adds to 180, like what that means.
Well, I haven't even told you yet necessarily what it means. I just want you to see how often this 180 keeps popping up. No, you do not. Yeah, and sometimes sometimes you can see the pattern, sometimes you can't. But I'm gonna help you with the patterns tomorrow. Okay? Yeah.
What about 30 and 330?
Yeah. So there's another one, right? So where's that one?
What's the difference? For
The
9, it's
30. Did I skip one? Hey, zip it please so that we can talk about this. Oh yeah, 30 and 330, right? Those are totally different, and those add up to 360. That actually happens in a couple places. 360 is there too. That's not a coincidence either. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to look at what your homework is, and we're going to get you started here so you're not overwhelmed by it. The third page here, you see this third page? It is the third page of the Understanding the Significance packet. This is part of your homework. Now, there is a fourth page. I do not want you trying the fourth page. It wouldn't even make sense. I only want you doing page 3. But I want you to try page 3. And I will likely give you a homework check just by you holding it up and me seeing that you've attempted these. So look at the first one. It's going to feel very similar to what we just did in class. Explain how the cosine of 60 and the cosine of negative 60 are related. Now, I got 4 minutes. I'm using them, so don't go packing up because we're going to get this answered. How is the cosine of 60 related to the cosine of negative 60?
And the opposite.
You tell me. Are they?
I don't know, are they?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well, then guess we're in trouble then. Look at your circle, please. Look at your cosine of 60. There's a hand. There's a hand. We got 2 people. 3 people. The cosine of negative 60. Julianne said they're the same. Okay. So look at the second part of the question. The second part says give another pair that will have the same property. Give another pair that has the same property. Could you do that for me? Give me another pair.
45 and negative.
Yeah, so you're going to say that they're the same, and then if you heard what Jackson just said, hey, if I take the cosine of 45, that's equivalent to the cosine of negative 45 degrees. Make it super random.
What is that?
The cosine of 57 degrees is the cosine of what? Can you follow the pattern? Negative 57 degrees. So here's the more significant part. I'm asked to draw a general conclusion. So we need to say that the cosine of an angle is equal to what? It's opposite. Very good. Now you may or may not get that general conclusion, but I want you to try. So part of your homework is to do this page of the packet. The other part of your homework is to take the other page you picked up called Analyzing the Unit Circle. And that is your other part of your homework. Yeah.
So for Friday's homework, is this and the other page?
1 through 25, odd only.
Okay. And that's what